Alright guys, welcome to the first finals review video on chapter 3 and 6. This was like the very first chapter we ever did on solving equations and inequalities. So number 1, you definitely have to distribute first. So when you do that, you get 3x minus 6 equals 5x minus 18. And then draw the wall, get all the x's to one side and all the constants to the other. So if we minus the 3x over, we get 2x. And if we add the 18 over, we get 12. And then to finish it off, divide both sides by 2, and x will be 6. So I'm not going to do every little step. You guys can kind of fill in the blanks. All right, number 2, how do we undo dividing by 4? So we draw the wall. To undo dividing by 4, we multiply by 4. And these cancel. We end up getting x equals negative 32. So some of these are going to be really easy, some will be a little harder. Now, absolute value. For these, you guys have to remember to set up 2 equations because absolute value gives you 2 answers. And one of them you set it equal to positive 10. The other one you set it equal to negative 10. And then solve them both. So to solve, to undo minus 6, you add 6. So this one will be 16. And then if you add 6 to this side, negative 10 plus 6 is negative 4. So for these absolute value ones, you guys will get 2 answers. Okay, moving on. Then we did inequalities, and these are just like equations. So just go ahead and solve like normal. We would add 3 and get negative 4x is greater than negative 20, and then divide by negative 4. But here's what you have to remember. If you multiply or divide by a negative, you got to flip the symbol. So you end up with x is less than, and then this ends up being 5. And then it says to graph, but we don't have a graph. So this would be an open circle at 5, and less than means left. All right, moving along. Number 6. It says graph, but we don't have a number line, so let's just make one. Now, this one you guys have to read it backwards. This really reads z is greater than or equal to negative 3. And I like to put it in that form first. I think it's easier to graph. This would be a closed circle at negative 3, and arrow goes right. So just be careful. When it's written backwards, you kind of want to rewrite it and then graph it. And then now we're on the slightly more complicated, where maybe you have to distribute first. So this would be 2p minus 10 is less than or equal to 6p minus 12. And then we got to get all the p's on one side and all the constants on the other side. And you guys can pick. I'm going to subtract the 6p over here. So now I'm at negative 4p minus 10 is less than or equal to negative 12. But then I got to bring the 10 by adding over here. And then we're at negative 4p is less than or equal to negative 2. And then divide both sides by negative 4. No, we divided by a negative, so flip the symbol. So it's p is greater than or equal to. And then this reduces. Negative 2 divided by negative 4 reduces to 1/2. So that's the answer there. And then there's not really room, but if you graph it, it would be a closed circle at 1/2, arrow goes right. And then lastly, we did these literal equations where you solve for a letter with a bunch of letters. So if you're trying to get m by itself, what do we have to do? We got to get rid of the z. So how do we undo multiplying by z? We divide both sides by z. And you guys, that's actually it. M is going to be a minus b, everything divided by z. You're just trying to get m alone. And then same thing, number 8. This time we're trying to get w alone. So we got to start moving the things that are by the w. So to move a minus c, we're going to add c. And to move a positive p, we're going to minus p. Okay, so these cancel. So now we have k plus c minus p. And you would think we're done, but we're not. We got to get rid of that negative. So we have to divide everything by -1. And now we're done. Okay, so now w equals, now you probably want to actually do it. K divided by -1 becomes -k. C divided by -1 becomes -c. Negative p divided by -1 becomes positive p. They would probably have the answer more like that. All right, guys, that's it. That was a review of the first chapter, 3 and 6. And now you guys are going to do multiple choice.